Hey, we're Fly By Midnight.
And we're hanging out with Rob on Furbo Live.
Front row live.
Oh my God. I have a Furbo can, that's why I thought of it. Third time's a charm.
That was good. You got to keep that, Rob. Hey, we're Fly By Midnight.
And we're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I recently got introduced to your music and instantly got hooked. Most recently, I've been like stuck on Happy About Everything Else. The whole album is just a masterpiece. But before we actually touch on that album, I want to talk about the new single right now, Lost Without You, that you guys just did with Clara Mae. Talk to me about the creative process of this track and, you know, what kind of inspired you guys to bring Clara into the mix for this track?
Appreciate the first comment.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's always awesome to hear that people are listening to a body of work in today's world, right?
Yeah.
Lost Without You, out of any song we've ever done, I feel like that song has had the longest journey, right?
I was going to say it's probably the most unique story too, just for the longevity of how like it came about and how it finally came about was both kind of like a really interesting story. So first of all, we wrote it with a writer named Sophie Simmons about a year or so ago.
Yeah, I think about a year.
In Los Angeles, we were visiting a couple of times last year, and now we live here permanently, which is cool. Yeah, we wrote the song with her last year at a studio randomly in Los Angeles.
It wasn't necessarily for us, right? It was kind of, it was the first time we worked with her. And whenever you write with someone for the first time, it's like, you never know exactly how it's going to go. That's why you don't really go in and say it's for your project, because who knows? Maybe it's not, you know? And then the next year, we were just trying to figure out what to do with it. We kind of knew it was special. Our team loved it. Sophie's team loved it. At one point, it was supposed to come out with completely different artists, right?
We pitched it to a few different artists, and it just never found a home. And at some point, Justin texted myself and our manager and was like, "Hey, what do you guys think about this song being for us?" And I was, to be honest, was always against it. For some reason, I just never pictured us being on it. And he kept bugging me, "Yo, cut the vocal on the chorus, cut the vocal on the chorus," because the version we were sending around only had one vocal on it. This is typically how we would send something, and it was Justin singing it.
I was like, I love the way I sound on this, man. You know?
And so I'd never even heard myself on the song, and so maybe that's why I couldn't really picture it. But one day I finally did it, and once we did that, Justin sent it to this writer, Cassandra, who is actually a really good friend of Clara's and her like personal writer as well. And she ended up showing her, and the rest was kind of history there. Within like a day or two, she sent us a vocal back, and they had changed a couple lyrics here and there. And
yeah, it was cool. We got in Clara's vocal from Sweden, and we were so inspired by how much she brought it that we were like, I think we got to go back in and completely re-record our stuff. So it was almost like in a weird futuristic 2020 world, we were together because she recorded it to our emotion and then we like rematched her emotion.
Yeah, the timeline was too, the vocal that I had of Justin that we were pitching around was the original vocal from the session that day a year or so ago with Sophie. So we hadn't touched his vocal for a year and a half. And, you know, as artists, obviously we write all the time, and it's funny to think that we could have easily kept that vocal, but she definitely inspired us to freshen it up. So that's
an amazing story of how it kind of even happened. Like the fact that it wasn't even initially meant to be one of your songs, like that's pretty cool. Like the other thing that I love is like just how perfectly her voice and your voices kind of like marinate together. Did that just seem natural to you guys? Like you mentioned, she sent her vocals and then you redid yours, but like, did that marination like just seem natural as you guys were kind of recording it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when you reach out to an artist to collaborate with you, you can't tell them they're auditioning, right? You kind of just gotta throw caution to the wind. And we're personal fans of Clara's project for a while, and we found out obviously when speaking to her it was a mutual feeling. So I think there is a lot of trust in the artistry that when you kind of hope it's going to marinate, I guess, right? That's kind of all you can do. In
yeah, case. True. And like we have a phrase in you know, the writing world called demoitis, and living with the song for a year and a half with someone else singing it, it's really hard to hear someone else sing a song. And at first it was like a little bit of a shock because we've lived with the other versions for so long, but very, very quickly we like listened to it for like a day or two and I was like, wow, this is perfect. It really works. And it's really believable too, which is what we really wanted for that song.
And so. She was so excited about it. You know, I think we've been really lucky because we've heard some really interesting stories of collaborations, and we're just so grateful that every collaborator we've worked with their level of morale has been our level, you know, like really just so dedicated to the song that she didn't initially write, you know, which is really rare and special, I think.
Yeah, I feel like that must be hard, especially when it's such a song like this one where it's almost vulnerable at the same time, and it feels like it's coming from a personal experience. So having to sing a song that you personally didn't write, I feel like it's so difficult to kind of like learn to live with the song in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, like the song in general is relatable to everyone, whether you're in a relationship or not. I'm sure at some point, you know, in your life, whether it's a relationship on a love interest level or like someone personal to you, a friend or something that you've lost that you try to want to reconnect with. And I think for us at the time, you know, we were in different places in our lives, but like to this day, we could still resonate with that idea and that feeling. So I think hopefully that's the same is for Clara, you know.
Aside from the song, you guys also just recently dropped the music video for it, and you guys shot it and directed it yourselves. Like how, you know, obviously with these COVID times, like so many artists are taking that path of learning how to, you know, either use a camera or learning how to direct or learning how to do things on their own in order to still be able to produce. But what kind of challenges did you guys face when you guys were making this video?
Yeah, you know, it's really funny. We've been doing that from day one, and I don't think we've ever, and we speak about it often, but I don't think we ever really integrated that into our public brand, right? Like letting people know that Slavo and I come up with the concepts, and we've been in the director's chair, and every video we've ever released, Slavo's edited. So I mean, it's really, there is a really hands-on, one would say almost like too micromanaging on our part of the project. It's our baby. So I think this was just another example of that. I will say, and there's probably like 3 or 4 crazy stories that went along with this video, but would you say one of the more challenging ones? Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, we were talking yesterday about like different videos, and we had this song Karaoke we released a while ago early on in our career. That was like definitely at the top of our list. If I compare it to that, being honest, I would say it's definitely not the hardest, but it was definitely a challenging video for us, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, from Clara being in Sweden, having to convey to her and her production team kind of what we were going for, as well as there's a big green screen where the TV sits at Clara, and Slavo and I built that. We're going to be dropping behind the scenes. We spent 48 hours building shit. I've never built anything in my life. Slavo was like Bob the Builder, you know, so we built that, and we shot it in the desert, at like a desert tornado blew away the entire green screen before we started shooting. Just like the list goes on of really complicated stuff that happened while shooting it. And yeah, I mean, it was really interesting to shoot it with Clara without being with her. Mm-hmm. And just another example of kind of pushing the needle and how we can make something really cool.
That's cool. Yeah, when watching the video, I was going to say, like, it does look like an old school TV, but it doesn't look like you superimposed it, or it doesn't look like you kind of took a picture and like stretched it out. It looks like real.
Which is cool. Like, and given our visual effects guy props, you know, when we had the vision for it, to be honest, we really just saw a big floating screen, like some kind of LED looking panel. And I guess we could have easily done that, but they threw in the idea of like, this should probably look like some kind of actual object. And they took that idea and ran with it, and I think they did a great job. So
that's amazing. That's cool. You mentioned a body of work earlier, and you know how hard it is for people to like kind of focus on a full body of work. A lot of fans today are kind of like in love with singles instead of full records. This new song is part of an upcoming project for the fall. What can we expect for the song? Is this going to be like another album? Is this going to be like an EP that you guys are working on? Like, where is this going to fit?
Yeah, I think it's something we're trying to figure out. I think from the beginning of Fly By Midnight, although, like you said, the culture kind of goes towards singles right now, I think for us, we always wanted to culminate to something bigger. And an idea we have that we're still fleshing out is really, we love the idea of collaborating with people from all over the world, all different genres. Obviously, Clara is very Scandinavian pop, and I think we kind of want to run with that for this project, whether it's a smaller project, but I think the idea of collaborating with all different genres really excites us and keeps it fresh for guys that have been doing this with each other for a little bit of a while now. So sure. Yeah, something like that to come.
Like I was mentioning earlier, like I'm a new fan of you guys, but you know, going onto the Spotify app, and then I see that you guys have tons of music. Like you guys have been releasing so much music in the last few years. How are you able to kind of create so many songs and not, in a sense, run yourselves dry? Because it's like every single song is just amazing. And it's like, I feel like it's hard for artists today, especially today more than ever, to be able to write hit after hit, but it doesn't feel that way with you guys.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we have a hard drive full of like probably 3 times the amount of songs we actually have out.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a thing for us where we are definitely picky about what we actually release. We write a lot of songs. Most of them we feel really good about. Some of them have just sat on the hard drive for years and haven't seen the light of day. And there's reasons for that. I think that we both really don't even discuss. It's just kind of like a known thing. And yeah, but we appreciate that comment. It's really nice of you to say. And
Yeah.
for us, I think we just really take time doing this stuff, and we really put the extra effort into it, and hopefully that reflects. And
Yeah, and I think you just touched on it too. Like, how do you not become stagnant in your craft? And I think Slavo and I found a lot of ways. Like the past year, it's really been collaborators and really bringing in a co-writer that even if they don't have the initial idea, even if it's still coming from Slavo and I, their energy in the room sometimes, pushes something new. So that's been something we've been really enjoying, as well as just, before COVID, just really trying to move to LA and experience new things and immerse ourselves in new inspiration. Yeah.
Now, with Happy About Everything Else, the way that I think about the record, it's like a breakup, heartbreak, and like anthem album. Like that's how I feel about it. And it's crazy because that's so much vulnerability in just one package. How easy or how difficult was it for you guys to kind of open up about your feelings or about those feelings, knowing that there's so many other people around the world that would be listening at the same time?
yeah, I feel like because it's 2 of us, we don't really get so thought up about like being specifically attached to the project. We kind of split that shared feeling, and maybe that helps. Also, Justin brought up writing with co-writers. I think having those opinions come in and not being like it's fully from us and from our experience sometimes helps that.
Yeah. I think even stuff that, like Slavo brings up a good point, being it's the both of us, I never think it's one of us coming in and writing verbatim to that person's story. I feel like sometimes it really is a combination of both of us, and then sometimes a co-writer. I mean, a great example is our song Lovely. One of our co-writers, Brigitte, came in and said, have this idea, you're so lovely, I wish you loved me. And that was the chorus, and literally those 2 lines, and Slavo and I were like, wow, that's it. Let's build kind of what that means to us. And then we throw in these moments of, well, in college I felt this and that. So it really is like, it's like a mosh pit of all different emotions. So I don't think we ever feel like we're soloed out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, since you kind of mentioned a couple of the songs, one that sticks out to me is Love Me Like a Friend, which I feel like it is so, everybody's gone through it. And writing a song like that to me is almost as equivalent as writing a timeless song, where it's like, it doesn't matter when you wrote it, why you wrote it, how you wrote it. Everybody's gone through it. Everybody's going to listen to it over and over and over again. What was the idea behind, I mean, aside from the lyrics, but like what kickstarted this song in particular?
I mean, a lot of these songs for us start off with some kind of other song we've been listening to. And I think this one in particular was a song by Rex Orange County, Loving is Easy. Just one that we heard that we really, really vibed with. And we were like, we really want to do something in this lane. The tempo was really cool. The vibe was cool. And we liked how he cursed, and it was about like this love thing. We kind of flipped it on its head and made it a little more of a negative, time. But for us, it was that song, and we just kind of took it around.
Yeah, and it was the first time we worked with Derek Furman, who he's now he's one of our best friends. But at that time, it was the first session we had with him. And I think when you, like I said before with Sophie, when you go into these sessions, you're like a little timid, but then you kind of hit this stride. And I remember in that session, we were so eager to kind of show Derek what we're capable of doing too, because he's worked with some really big artists and have some really big cuts underneath him, and it just, yeah, it was a really fun session. And I remember even the original demo, we listened back and we just felt like that was so, like you said, very timeless and very not too try hard, just very flowy. And I think it's reflected. I think a lot of people really do resonate with that song. it's cool. It's cool to see.
Going back to a question you had before too, I think for us, like we're big on hooks. We're pop dudes, and we want the chorus to feel really good and be super sing along. And that one from the get go, when we heard, I think Derek finally ended up throwing that lyric out too. But when we heard that for the first time, I was like, okay, we could see this being for us. And I feel like when we listen to songs, and if it has a hook, that's like one of the big things we look for in our music.
Yep.
That's awesome, guys. Well, what's next for you guys right now? Are you guys just stuck in the studio? I wouldn't say stuck, because I feel like that's something you guys enjoy doing, but are you guys just finding yourselves in the studio a lot more because of, quarantines and all the situation going on around the world?
Yeah. I think obviously we just released Lost Without You. We have a bigger team for this one, which is very exciting. So we're kind of going through the logistics of how to push a song a little bit longer and how to really give it the life it deserves, which is very new for us. While also kind of preparing that project we were talking about and really starting to reach out to these collaborators from all parts of the world and just trying to navigate that while also writing. This next month we have like 20 sessions already in the calendar, some virtually and some in person, and just trying to stay inspired, I think. And I'll say one thing with the songs coming up. So funny, Slavo's puppy keeps coming in.
My dog loves coming in.
And I'm allergic, so it's like this is adorable, but I'm going to sneeze my ass off, but the songs that we are hoping to come out for this next project, we wrote before quarantine, really, for the most part. So we were very inspired then. And not that we're not inspired now, but I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like now we're inspired a bit more creatively, visually. Like we're able to put our mind more into like the visuals that accompany, like we're shooting another thing for Lost Without You soon. And we're able to just work on the music that we already wrote for a little bit too, which is cool.
That's awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and congratulations with the new single. Like I said, I recently just found out about you guys, and I immediately became a fan. So I'm definitely excited for what else is to come with you guys. So thank you again for taking the time.
Thanks so much,
We
Rob.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man.